The Hrud, also known as the Temporaferrox, and by the scientific name Troglydium Hrudii, is a mysterious xenos race. Described with labels such as chronomantic and chronophagic, they have the ability to manipulate the flow of time through both technological and biological means. The Imperium's first recorded encounters with the Hrud date back to the Great Crusade. The earliest Imperial reports labeled them as the nocturnal warriors of Hrud. However, xenologist Janus Drake describes the Imperial records as being unclear on whether Hrud was intended as the name of their homeworld or the name of their species. Imperial xenologists disagree on the physical appearance of the Hrud, with reports varying wildly. The Hrud are notoriously difficult to observe or examine. They possess entropic fields that distort space and time around them, confounding attempts to observe them. To compound this, they habitually hide beneath ragged cloaks, made of a misshapen morass of decomposing filth. Furthermore, upon death, their entropic fields rapidly age and liquefy their bodies, making detailing the creatures next to impossible. They have been described by some sources as being taller than a human, with bulging eyes occupied entirely by black pupils, mandibles in the corners of their mouths, clawed hands, moist skin with no hair, with articulated armor closely fitted to their flexible limbs. However, they have also been depicted as being crouched, diminutive creatures swathed in rags, their faces obscured by hoods and possessing rat-like tails. One dissection of an adult specimen by Magos biologist Charlie Darvas alleged that their skeleton comprises few supporting bones, instead consisting of multiple interlinked vertebrae-like structures. This would mean their neck, spine, fingers, and long limbs are all prehensile and can bend in any direction. It also reported that their skull was revealed to consist of a semi-silicone resin, with the rest of their skeleton showing evidence of a silicone compound. More dissection evidence revealed their bodies consist of multiple layers of tissue. The outer layers appear necrotic or artificial, consisting of dead skin, artificially introduced waste products, molds, and other organic matter. It was proposed this may serve multiple purposes, such as providing abundant heat from bacterial composting, providing protection as tissue layers act as absorptive padding against trauma, and allowing the production of toxic waste products. Finally, dissection evidence also suggests Hrud have large scales, silicate in nature, forming armor. These are coated in fungal, bacteria, and unknown structures. The scales appear to channel any toxic waste produced from dermal decomposition in other parts of the body, acting as a poison reservoir. Organic tubules then connect these scales to a Hrud's fingers, presumably allowing excretion of poisons through the fingers. The Hrud have 4 fingers with extreme dexterity. Their fingertips are the sole area of their body where their true dermis is exposed from underneath layers of decomposing matter. They have been described as scuttling creatures and have been observed to use 3 limbs for quicker movement, while carrying a weapon in their free hand. They are noted as being a nocturnal race and are known to be attracted to darkness, similar to the Dark Eldar. Dissection evidence suggests their eyes are adapted to a nocturnal and subterranean existence, displaying evidence of poor color vision but extreme sensitivity to light. While they have an inferior smell compared to humans, evidence suggests they have superior hearing and balance. The mechanics of Hrud reproduction are enigmatic. The only thing known about the species is that the female gender has a womb-like structure carried externally on a rudimentary tail. The most notable feature of the Hrud is their entropic fields known as sac. These mysterious distortion fields surround every Hrud not just their warriors, are biologically generated from the Hrud themselves, have been labeled as parasitic in function, and alter the fabric of space-time with unpredictable effects. The sack bends light and time, making the Hrud appear as flickers of black at the heart of a column of shimmering air, so that the Hrud can conceal themselves in darkness even while they're in full light. This ability makes the Hrud appear virtually invisible when stationary. The sack also can be used as a shield against attacks. Projectiles colliding with a sack will behave in unpredictable ways, often veering off course, accelerating to unbelievable speeds, detonating prematurely, or coming apart in rains of atoms. Other sensors besides sight may be the most reliable for detecting a Hrud presence, as the sack appears to alter the composition of the atmosphere, thickening it with accelerated particular motion. Extreme temperature changes, such as killing cold and unbearable heat, are described as preceding the Hrud. While fighting the Hrud in the Troglydium Hrudii campaign, the Iron Warriors noted that thermal vision was a more reliable method of detecting and targeting the Hrud, as the Hrud's sack caused a massive heat bleed from their environment. Although even in thermal vision, the Hrud was still found to be obscured by a thermal bloom of overclocked atomic activity. The sack has an extremely rapid aging effect on the Hrud's enemies. For example, during the Troglydium campaign, when encountering the Hrud, the Iron Warrior Hrud found the ceramite of his gauntlets pitting, as if left out in the elements for 5,000 years. He reportedly fell down as his disintegrating flesh poured from the rents opening up in his armor. His death was said to have taken place in less than a second. For Troglydium, another Iron Warrior who fought in the Troglydium campaign, found his armor underwent a century of decay in mere moments. The sack also ambiently aged the Hrud's surroundings, leading to objects such as crops turning to dust and humans suffering from premature aging. The aging effects are cumulative, growing stronger the more Hrud are in close proximity with one another. During mass migrations, the sack are capable of wreaking havoc on entire worlds just by the simple presence of the Hrud. The Hrud are known to use this effect, as during the aforementioned Troglydium campaign, the Hrud were documented gathering in large numbers in natural watercourse tunnels that ran beneath an Iron Warrior's fortress, extending their ambient temporal field to bathe the fortress in temporal radiation. The fortress rapidly aged and fell into disrepair, allowing the Hrud to breach the weakened Astartes' defenses. The Hrud also seemed to be able to overload this temporal distortion to devastating effect. During their invasion of Harkonneth, Hrud forces were able to conjure a temporal rift that slew many star phantoms with cruel angles of distortion, and even blinded the chapter master Ommodon Tiresias when a rogue time eddy speared through the bridge of his battle barge's command deck. The Hrud's own artifacts and bodies seem to be immune from any aging effects of their sack. However, when a Hrud dies, its body will rapidly age and liquefy, presumably as it's no longer protected from its own temporal distortion. The Hrud are a secretive race, often living in parallel with other races. In Imperial culture, rumors abound of secret societies beneath cities, beneath the engine stacks of Imperial vessels, and between the tiers of the most ancient hives. Such stories are often dismissed as tales of bogeymen meant to scare infants. However, in truth, these rumors are occasionally substantiated. Hrud live in tunnel cities, known as Juntak, often near the greatest centers of human population on a planet. These subterranean tunnels stretch hundreds of kilometers through the rock of planets. Each chamber and tunnel of their warrens runs into the next, with doors rarely used. The walls of such tunnels have been described as glacially surfaced, seemingly impervious to the constant tremors that beset Hrud worlds. Within their warrens, known chambers built by the Hrud include worship chambers, family burrows, and archives. The Hrud can also live a nomadic lifestyle, with entire nomadic nations having flourished in the areas between decks of imperial vessels. On their nomadism, the Hrud are fundamentally a scavenger migratory race. A poha is a mass migration triggered by population growth. When the population of a single tribe reaches a particular level of saturation, several members schism by stowing away in the spaces of transports and space hulks to form new tribes in some distant place. However, the Hrud also have migration ships of their own that they can create if need be, and are believed to be able to utilize multiple forms of faster-than-light travel. They tend to be fiercely tribal, holding ancestry and family ties to the utmost importance. However, when groups split for a migration, it is believed such groups rarely maintain contact, as they lack the means to do so. The Hrud are known to build archives. They have demonstrated an unparalleled fastidiousness in the field of record-keeping, where they compile vast stores of historical, cultural, and technical records. These records are stored in their warrens within archive areas, which they treat as precious and will defend in battle against invaders. One of the items the Hrud will take on a migration is the Rahid, which is the amassed knowledge of their mass tribe. As for their interaction with other species, the Hrud are known to take other species, such as humans, into their tribes, where they're given the role of a Zanhard, a sort of slave pet. Gene stealer Kantagi are also known to exist within Hrud communities. The Hrud are known to follow their own religion. According to the Hrud's religion, they were not always a nocturnal scavenger race, but were changed into such when their god Ka foresaw the dangers they would face. Hrud religion worships a benevolent pantheon of gods known as the Slahai, or most ancient. Their beliefs hold that their race was created by the Slahai, who intended for them to bask in the sun and be fruitful. It is said that this changed when their gods entered into a war against the Yamke, or mirror devils, which saw the Slahai either slain, crippled, or forced to flee. Their legends say that only a single member of the Slahai still exists, known as Qua, a god also known as He Who Lingers. This solitary member of the godhead is said to have recognized the dangers that would fall upon his beloved children, and thus changed them into a race of nocturnal scavengers. Around 500,000 years ago, Qua is said to have told the Hrud that he had other great works to attend to and disappeared. However, he said that he would return to reunite at the time of the Rahid Scare, which was the appointed time when the tribes would come together for a final battle against the Yamke. The Inquisitor Maturin Raleigh noted the similarity in the Hrud pantheon with other xenos species, notably the Eldari, whose pantheon shares a horned hunter, a red-handed figure, a laughing jester, and a hammer-wielding artisan. The Hrud are master scavengers, said to be able to assemble weapons and devices from whatever resources they have at their disposal. The most common ranged weapon wielded by the Hrud is a fusil, which is a form of musket that uses phasic plasma technology. According to the Inquisitor Cryptman, fusils are a simple symbiosis between melter and plasma technology that can fire columns of fire hotter than a star. The plasma energy projected by such a weapon is green in coloration and blinks in and out of existence, phasing between real space and the warp. This makes it able to materialize inside of its target in order to bypass armor and destroy its victim from within. Fusils remain one of the few scant artifacts of the Hrud that occasionally come up for sale in the Imperium and were also in high demand. Those weapons that find themselves on the black market are typically modified to accept Imperial plasma cells, though if the mechanism itself is badly damaged, then it cannot be repaired by human hands. During the Sactrata Deeps campaign, the Hrud were seen to use various forms of other weaponry that could distort space-time. The Hrud created focused temporal vortices, which could rapidly age their targets, rotting them from the inside out. They also possessed cannons able to shunt targets thousandths of a second along their own time stream and out of synchronicity with the planet's motion, causing victims to become fused with objects around them. They deployed melee warriors, who wielded weapons described as twin blades of light, smoking with entropic dissolution. The Iron Warriors, who attempted to block such blades, saw their weapons immediately age and disintegrate after contact, while those unfortunate enough to be stabbed by such blades exploded as their bodies forced themselves into impossible shapes. Some Iron Warriors stabbed by such blades were even witnessed to rapidly age backward, causing their bodies to reject their Space Marine implants. During the Sactrata Deeps campaign, the Hrud also deployed other mysterious warriors and weapons. These included odd, flexible-limbed walkers armed with bulbous cannons, warriors in suits of scabrous living armor, and strange things that may have been machine or flesh or both. The Hrud have a method of travel described as focused spears of temporal energy that propel themselves through space-time. During the Sactrata Deeps campaign, as Gugan crumbled and the Hrud evacuated the planet, repeated Hrud foray parties boarded the Imperial ships as stowaways, traveling through space and entering the ships through some unknown means that breached the ship's walls undetected. Imperial forces formed hourly purgation teams, sweeping out-of-the-way corners of the decks for infestations. As for their naval capabilities, Hrud vessels are known to possess their own entropic fields. These fields have the same abilities as Sak, of distorting space-time, aging their surroundings, and acting as a shield against attacks. Their migration ships have been described as weird agglomerations of plated fungal matter. As a final note on the capabilities of the species, during the last hours of Sactrata Deeps campaign, a massive Hrud ship was witnessed erupting from Gugan as the Hrud evacuated the dying planet. The ship was described as the size of a continent, breaking free from the planet by using the substance of the world itself as fuel. As the giant vessel became space-bound, the migration ships formed a formation around it, resembling a hollow cube. Painfully bright arcs of light leapt from the migration ships and joined them to the giant vessel. A moment later, all the Hrud vessels blinked out of existence. In the fleet's place was a temporal collapse as their departure tore a hole in space-time. The Iron Warriors' ships caught in the temporal wave created by the collapse were hit by unpredictable time distortion. Some aged 1,000,000 years in a moment. Others found their crews aged to dust in seconds, and still others accelerated backward at unimaginable speed until they vanished or disappeared into disassociated particles. Thus, the Hrud, although less terrifying than other xenos, continue to pose a notable ambient threat at the edges of Imperial space. The Ordo Xenos and Deathwatch in particular keep a keen eye on their populations, shutting down small-scale infestations with kill teams and leading mobilizations to push back major Hrud migrations, which can threaten entire sectors. Thank you for listening to this entry from the Warhammer 40,000 Lexicanum.